Okay, welcome everyone to our August 5th electronic council meeting. Call to order. Everyone is here, I believe, on a roll call. Disclosure of pecuniary interest. If you have any, please forward it by email to our clerk. Hearing none. Minutes from the previous meeting, July 22nd, the regular meeting minutes. Any questions or business arising from that? Hearing none. We need a motion to approve the minutes. Councillor Moyer, Councillor McClinchy, all in favor? Carried, thank you. No public meeting delegation. We do have, I'd like to introduce the new chief building official, Shannon Black. And Shannon's with us here tonight. And Shannon, if you'd like to go ahead and speak, go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm Shannon Black. I am the new chief building official through the Joint Services Committee that was set up with Adelaide Metcalf. I've been spending one day a week right now in the North Office, becoming accustomed to how things are running and answering lots of phone calls. It's extremely busy down in your end, so that's a great thing. I have two staff. We've hired two staff through Adelaide Metcalf, full-time permanent inspector who's coming to us with previous municipal experience in building inspections, and I have a full-time contract for 2 years, position of a gentleman who's coming with qualifications but has not done the inspection side of things. So we'll be working with him to get him up and running. So there will be 3 of us. We will be in the North Office. I will be there on Tuesdays, and one of the inspectors will be there another 3 days a week to provide services to the residents of North Middlesex. Yeah, I'd be happy to answer any questions if anybody has any, but it's really busy and staff are great so far. So I'm very excited about this.
Okay. Is there any questions from council or comments from council? I will say we had the privilege to meet our committee 2 weeks ago, I think it was. Forget the date, but we did have the opportunity to meet and with the all the members of it, and yeah, welcome aboard. It's good to have you. Anything from council? Councillor Hemming.
Yeah, Shannon, if you can, could you just give a little bit of a background of your qualifications, if you don't mind?
Sure. So I went to Fanshawe for architectural technology a few years ago. And during that time, I took a co-op placement with the town of Collingwood doing building inspections, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So I finished my schooling. I did a couple other co-op placements, one with the township of Oromodanti, because I come from the Barrie area. And then I moved down here after school, and I worked for the municipality of Central Elgin for 6 years as a building inspector, bylaw enforcement officer. And from Central Elgin, I then went to the municipality of Chatham-Kent as a deputy chief building official, and I covered all of East Kent by myself. And then from Chatham, I was there for 4 years. From Chatham, I went to Ingersoll. And so I spent the last 5 years in Ingersoll as chief building official, bylaw enforcement officer, and facilities manager. And so then from there, I've moved into this role. So I do have a little bit of experience in the building industry, and I love it. I enjoy the people. I enjoy, it's a different thing every day and the challenges. So yeah.
Okay, no, that's good. I'm glad to hear you. That's for sure. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions from council? Hearing none. Shannon, thank you very much. Look forward to working with you here going future. I think we're going to be very busy. I hope so, and look forward to it. Okay, so let's move on to departmental reports. The first one's the tender award for the Denfield Road Water Main Extension Project. Jonathan Lampman.
Your worship, members of council, what you have in front of you is the tender award for the Denfield Water Main Extension Project. The recommendation that you have in front of you is that Van Bree Drainage and Bulldozing Limited be awarded the Denfield Water Main Extension Project in the amount of $488,531. Just to bring everybody back up to speed with why this project is taking place and where it's at and how it got here, I'll just go through the summary a bit. So November 21st, 2018, we prepared a report to council highlighting an issue with water pressure problems that we were having from Denfield on Denfield Road from Highway 7 to basically Maple Lodge. Through that report, council made a recommendation to us to explore connecting to the Luke and Biddulph system. We outlined connecting to Luke and Biddulph, provide wells, or do nothing and reassess. The recommendation at that point was to proceed with the water main extension and to engage Luke and Biddulph further to get into an agreement to tie into their system. So at which point we did, brought the report back to council, provided a budget to you at that point of $345,000. You will note that the contract award is substantially higher than the $345,000 that we had estimated at that point. And basically that's how we got to where we are. So the reason this is in front of you is that there are consistent pressure issues on Denfield Road from Highway 7 to Maple Lodge. The way in which we are going to correct it is going to tie into the Lucan pumping station and pump back up to Maple Lodge, back to Highway 7, essentially cut and cap just down Highway 7 a bit, and then backfeed with pressure from there. If there's any other questions, feel free to ask.
Okay, questions from council. Councillor Moyer.
Yeah, I'm just, I understand the project and the need for it. Just wondering with the amount that we had estimated to begin with and the difference that we have now. I mean, we're looking at 40%. We hire engineers to give us these costs that affect our budget and affect the decisions that we make at around the table. 40% seems to be a lot of money left there.
Yep.
Is there differences from the estimate to this?
Jonathan Green.
No costing?
We actually have Catherine here from Dillon Consulting. So Catherine, if you wouldn't mind coming on and explaining a little bit of where the differences came from for council's benefit, that'd be appreciated.
Sure. I'll just highlight some of the differences. One is that a contingency allowance wasn't included in the original estimate. And as part of the tender, we included a $50,000 contingency. So that's part of the difference. As well as part of the detailed design, there was two major items that were added that weren't known at the time of that high level estimate in 2018. Those are related to two culvert replacements that are in the proposed alignment of the water main along Denfield Road, as well as the addition of two air release valves. And those are proposed to be installed at two high point locations along Denfield Road. And those two air release valves total almost $45,000. In addition, there's some provisional items and miscellaneous items that may or may not actually be involved in the construction but are included in the tender. And some of those items were not included in the original estimate. So as example, some of those things may include as provisional items, replacing unsuitable material underground, road sweeping, temporary support of the existing 350 millimeter water main on Denfield that feeds the Lucan booster station, and some miscellaneous items that were included in the tender that may or may not be fully spent. May include dust control, VACX to locate any existing utilities, that type of thing.
think I could read your lips there, your worship. So I would just like to identify that this project in what's being presented today and what it was presented previously is being proposed to be funded through the water reserve allocation. And there is the cash for this project in the account now. So that's just something for consideration.
Deputy Mayor Cornelison.
Thank you, Mayor Roth. I have some questions on the items that were just listed here by the representative from Dillon. In listing them, it seems to me that these are standard things that I suspect should have probably been included in the original estimate. Can you share with us why they were not included? Like, it seems to me that there's a bit of an oversight there on Dillon's behalf in providing a lower estimate than what the actual cost would be.
Okay, Catherine.
Yep, I can jump in here. So yes, some of those items are certainly more standard items that could be included. Now, some of the provisional items, such as the temporary support of the 350 water main, or one item I didn't mention is temporary support of Hydro 1 poles. Those are some of the less traditional items that we did include as part of the detailed design through discussions with the municipality. So I would agree that there's some items that should have been included, but in the grand scheme of things, they are fairly small amounts. Some of the bigger items are really linked back to the air release valves at $45,000 and the $50,000 contingency that it was noted that that was excluded as part of that original estimate.
So is a standard procedure for Dillon to submit quotes with excluding a contingency fund?
It was noted as such that it was excluded, and that it's general procedure to include one.
But in this case, it wasn't. Is that correct?
No, staff did carry, I think, a 10 or 15% contingency on Dillon's number that brought it to 345 at the time we presented the report.
Okay.
Okay.
So this 50,000 contingencies in addition to that.
Correct.
Okay,
And the way
so that's
contingencies work is essentially they need to provide invoices and backup and then paid out of a contingency. So it's very much money that possibly will not be spent unless there's proof for spending it.
Okay, and I have a follow-up question for Jonathan Lappin, if I may. Given the council accepted the recommendation based on the $345,000 estimate at that time, what options are available to council at this time, given the substantial increase? So we're talking about a 50% increase here, almost, well, 40%. What options are available to council now?
Basically, the options that are available, we did kind of bat around a couple over the last couple of weeks, but they do not alleviate the pressure problems that we have still persisting as of yesterday on Denfield. So what we need to do is we need to boost the pressure on Denfield to take it out of, sub 20s every day. So the only way that we're going to do that is with the cheaper route, which is what we've explored and what we presented, is by utilizing our neighbors, and which I will say Lucan has been an excellent neighbor in this, utilizing their pumping system. Another thing that we could explore, had Lucan not wanted to step up and help us, would be that we would have to put a pumping station in ourselves, which in looking at it during early investigations on a project like this, we looked at the one that Middlesex Center had put in Denfield, just to do the little Denfield area just south. They have issues with the same, and it was north of $800,000. Okay. So in terms of addressing it and, getting good value for it in the overall picture, $488,000 is still very good value for what you get, but it is over what we anticipated.
So the 488,000 for, I think it's 8 homes, is that correct?
Yeah, basically six homes, I believe.
6 homes.
Yep.
So the payback on that would be what, 160 years, or what would it be?
Yeah, probably north of that. I think we were originally looking at about 160 years on it, and yeah, it'll be more than that now. That's based on our current rate, obviously, but yes.
Okay, thank you.
So just before I go to you, Jonathan, my question to you then, Jonathan Graham, or whoever wants to, is how do we ensure, okay, this has happened, how do we ensure that this doesn't happen again? Like, this is a couple of times, I believe now, that we're expecting close to a certain number and it's been considerably higher. So what can we do to ensure that? That's my question there. Go ahead, Jonathan Graham.
John, go ahead.
So what staff will do going forward is provide further detailed budgets closer to the time of tender, I suppose, and bring a report to council if it changes over a duration. I think what occurred here was more of a duration thing in simply getting an agreement signed and so on and so forth. In that this was brought before council, better than a year and a half ago, and now we finally got to the tendering part of it. That played some impact into it, definitely. But it's just bringing, closer, more detailed budgets to council at later dates, closer to. That's all we can really
Jonathan
do.
Graham, go ahead then.
Just in terms of organizational impacts that this could have. As you know, we have a very vast water distribution network. These problems are not going to go away. And I don't use that term lightly. We're going to have to address complicated matters like this on an ongoing basis. One of our obligation is that the operating authority of our water system is, once we know of an issue, we have to identify it in our compliance report that goes to the Ministry of Environment. So if we go back all the way to 2018 in November, when this was first presented, and if council's considering the three options of doing nothing, doing something in the middle, which this is the option of something in the middle, or something over and above in terms of a pumping station, we can't turn away from these facts. I know it's not comfortable that this cost came in at this price. The other thing to consider is, even if we re-tendered this in the future, it will most likely be more expensive. Because that's just the way that the market on the construction, especially within this industry, reacts. It usually never ever gets cheaper. So those are things that'll have to be considered for council as well.
And further to that point, the numbers that we are seeing on the Denfield water main are very much in line with the asset management portion of the rate study that we did produce to council. Like, checking back the unit rate on this water main is very much in line for what we're going to see in rural water mains throughout the municipality.
Okay, Councillor Moyer, and then.
Yeah, I understand that, the need for this project. Again, it's just the surprises afterwards. I'd like to see and we're getting two major projects coming up that we've been surprised on the costs on those as well, with the water tower and the sewage treatment. I know this is getting off topic a little bit, but it's concerning that our budgets we are setting budgets and we are making decisions on information we're getting, and then it's way out in left field when the time comes to actually do these projects and we're committed to it. So, it's the surprises that we're getting. I think we'd like to see if we can eliminate those.
I would agree with you. It's all about refinement as we go through the process. The wastewater treatment plant and the water tower, it's a hard thing to commit to an EA at the beginning of any major infrastructure with a question mark over the cost. But as you go through the process, that's where it becomes more refined. What we left on this one was duration, and it's staff's responsibility to make sure that we come back on a more regular basis to refine these numbers. So we'll make sure that happens more often.
And
Yeah, I
budgets,
think the defining is, it's almost too late as we're getting into the project and we're getting updated costs. I think, for the water tower, for example, Middlesex Center had put one up recently. They have a pretty good idea of what that cost was that they had put up. Did anybody really ever talk to them and see what that budget was?
We did talk to them through the process.
I have all their drawings.
Yeah. Dylan, but then, and the same thing, we're subject to a market condition where that water tower went up 5 years ago, I believe, in Ilderton. And was it, Mike, you might know, I think you're shaking your head or something like that. I think it was about 5 years ago. We're not going to be in a position to put ours up in another year. So that's 6 years of change.
Yeah, I understand that. I guess my concern is the number that I was told that they put that up for was twice as much as what we were budgeted for to begin with. So, there's just some discrepancies there. I just like to, if we can, I agree with you. If we get these numbers refined and get closer to actuals, it's really going to help us making decisions.
On both the engineering and design for the water tower and the wastewater treatment plant, the budgets that we provided to you, the numbers came under on both of those projects recently.
Well, we were told about 2.5 on the water tower to begin with. I think we're around 7 now, aren't we?
No, 2.5 on the water tower itself, but if we have to do distribution water main when we model the project, we put a number of 5 million to it. Because
Wow.
we might have to take
But
water
that's-
main to Main
But
Street.
that's the whole project, though. I mean, that's what we need to look at, is the whole project, not bits and
Right.
pieces of it.
Okay,
Okay, I know we're off topic, sorry.
yeah, no,
No,
Deputy Mayor
it's
Canales.
Worthwhile.
Canales.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. Actually, Jonathan Graham answered my question when he gave a report. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Any other comments or questions on this report? Hearing none, we have a recommendation in front of you. What's the wish of council there? Councillor Moyer, are you moving that? Moved by Councillor Moyer, seconded by Councillor Hemming. Further discussion on it? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Good points were made, I think, on that whole thing, though. That's a worthwhile conversation. Thank you. Okay, our next one is the report for the tender award for the Beechwood Bridge construction.
So, your worship, members of council, the recommendation that you have in front of you is that McLean Taylor Construction be awarded the construction services for the Beechwood Bridge rehabilitation, the amount of $1,882,001.08. 57 bid takers on this, 5 closed the tender. If you go to the background, you'll see that McLean Taylor was low at 1,882. We checked the numbers, everything was good. Very reputable contractor, has done previous work to this bridge. And that's why we're making the recommendation. Any other questions, concerns, feel free to ask.
Questions? Councillor Keogh?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, Jonathan, it's $1.8 million. But we also have our provincial and federal contributions here. Is that correct?
Correct. So under the financial section, Councillor Keogh, you'll see that the maximum contribution from the federal government is 1.15.
Yes.
Province of Ontario, the maximum is 766,590, which leaves a balance of like 16.7% to us in the amount of approximately 383,000, which we have in our bridge reserve.
And I guess maybe just a tone off the last topic, this is a firm price.
This will be, we'll be issuing a CCDC2, which is a stipulated price contract. And I will mention that this was under budget by 2.3 million that you see is including engineering. The 2.1 was for the construction. So it was under budget by a fair amount.
Thank you.
Other questions on this? Deputy Mayor Ellison?
Thank you, Mayor Rob. Jonathan, I'm looking at the grant proposals. Now, I see it, the word maximum is underlined. So there's no indication or guarantee that those grants have been approved?
Oh, yeah, they have been approved. Contract was signed by council, I want to say January, February.
So
That is just the maximum that they will give us. So hypothetically, if the bridge was to come out under $2.3 million, their contribution would be 50% of that, 33% of that, and then ours would be 16.67.
okay, thank you.
Councillor Moyer?
Jonathan, do they have a time frame for the project?
Yeah, so we actually called McLean Taylor today just to get a more firm schedule, but I think what we're planning on is fall of this year. And then they will be back in the spring to kind of finish. So there'll be a bit of a lull once they're done drilling piles and putting the structural steel in place. We'll wait the winter to do the deck and stuff like that. So we're gonna, I would say June, July of next year, I think is what we're anticipating for a finish of this.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Keogh, go ahead, John.
Jonathan, I just do have one more for you. When you say the start date is this fall. Will the agricultural, like the farmers in the area, be able to use that bridge until sometime in November before, like, to get to Beechwood elevators, or is it shut down when it's shut down?
It's shut down.
Okay.
As soon as the contractor files their notice to construct with the ministry, it becomes their site, which is essentially their bridge. They will shut it down at that point, and it will be shut down until the following spring.
But we're not sure of a date yet. Is that correct?
Not firm, no.
Okay.
It'll be this fall. Yeah, not firm, but I'm going to get a schedule out of McLean Taylor next few days.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Councillor Hemming?
Yeah, so there'll be a notification go out to the public, obviously, right?
Yeah. Everybody in that general area, which there's not a lot of homes in that general area, but yeah, we'll make them aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
And then we have,
just like
Sorry?
Councillor Keel, so the agricultural sector will need to know that for sure.
and we will have signage up. We have mandated signage from the federal and provincial governments that we have to put up and so on and so forth. There will be signage and it'll be clearly marked and delineated.
Okay, thank you.
Jonathan, do we tell the bus companies, like the school bus companies? Do we inform them?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah. And fire, OPP, bus companies, yes, they'll all be made aware.
Okay, thank you. Jonathan Graham.
I was just gonna tag on to some of that conversation. John covered most of it. There will also be signage for the bridge closing in the appropriate spot so that we don't have somebody coming down with their combine or harvester getting, a couple meters away from the bridge and being jammed up. So there'll be enough signage out there to make sure that they're not going to get stuck as it would be. So there'll be enough notice out for the public. We're not going to be able to get to everybody because we're just going to be able to do a standard circulation mailing list, but we'll try our best.
We know the way that those roads are laid out in that corner, it will be an inconvenience for sure for the farmers, but it's got to be done. So
Absolutely.
it'll be so. Any other questions from council? Okay, we have a recommendation in front of us. Moved by Councillor McClinchy, seconded by Councillor Keogh. Discussion? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Our next one is a report on the COVID budget impact, and that's Tracy.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is an informational report to council on the budgetary impact of the COVID-19 pandemic up to July 31st. It's a little too early to quantify all of the potential financial impacts we're going to see, but the attached spreadsheet shows the more significant variances up to July 31st. And while we're seeing budget impacts in the collection of user fees and charges, we're also seeing savings in departmental line items, for example, conferences, education and training, obviously because people can't travel. Is there any questions on the report?
Questions from council? Deputy Mayor Cornelison.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. Tracy, in the event that there's some funding available from either the federal or provincial government for municipal financial losses, would the municipality be looking at the difference between the savings and the actual costs, or just the total costs?
We're going to have to wait and see what they mandate. I'm tracking everything in a separate account so that we can recoup everything we spent that we didn't have to, or everything that we've lost because of waiving penalties or lack of facility rentals. But that's going to have to be wait and see when the funding comes down, or if it even comes down. So,
And I anticipate that depending on what happens come hockey season, that the losses could be greater.
Right. Mike might be able to speak to that more, but I believe they are speaking to minor hockey and some of the other teams about getting on the ice. So that's still a wait and see thing. So,
Mike, do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, through your worship, just to answer the question, Brandon is working on a report right now that'll go to the August 19th to give a full update on return to play at the arena and some of the costs involved. But it does look like at this moment that minor hockey is going forward, and they rent about 70% of the ice right now. So you'll see some of those numbers and some of that information at next council meeting.
Thank you, Mike. While you're on the line, Mike, would it also be available for the men's rec leagues then as well?
So we have been in touch with the men's rec league. We're still gauging interest. Right now, it is a no for men's. The figure skating does look like it'll be coming back. And we're in talks with actually another team from another municipality right now that may fill some of the space. So,
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Moyer.
Just another question for Mike while we're talking about it as well. Do you have any protocols or anything set in place for minor hockey?
Oh yes, for sure. That's been predominantly what we've been dealing with, and a lot of different information out there, a lot of different interpretations. What we do, what has become a great value is that Middlesex Center has been running their arenas and taking a lot of pressure off neighboring municipalities for ice at this moment. Some would already have ice open. But yes, we will have a plan, and that will be included in the report, kind of a return to play document that people will have to follow. So a lot of the organizations, they have their minimum requirements, but a lot of it is left to the facility owners to implement. So you will see that information, and it is rather restrictive, especially at this point. The biggest factor being there's only 50 people allowed per league. So we'll see how that plays out. That's causing the most trouble for everybody right now. So.
Thank you.
Other questions from council? Tracy, I have one, and that was you had thought that this actual tax bill may be the one where we feel more impact, or people would feel more impact. Do you still feel that way?
Yeah, a little, just depending on how long they were off work.
Yeah.
So people could be kind of running out of their savings, but then again, hopefully people are, now that we're in phase 3, they're back. So I know that CERB is running out now, or it's being canceled. So if people aren't back to work full time, there's going to be some struggles, I think. But it's kind of a wait and see game.
Okay. You haven't got much feedback from residents though on it at this time?
No, and we seem to be getting our receivables and everything are staying right in line with where they were last year for payments. So I think we're doing okay, but.
Okay. Thank you, Tracy. Any other questions from council? We need a motion to accept the report. Councillor Nickel, Councillor Moyer, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Passing of accounts. Tracy again.
Thank you, Your Worship. So we're recommending the bills and accounts amounting to $380,836.92 be approved for payment. Is there any questions on the accounts payable?
Questions on the accounts? Councillor McClinchy.
On Flags Unlimited Corporation for $693.76. Is that, how many flags is that? Which flags are we talking about? Is that the big flags in the front of the town hall, or it's on check number 174?
Mike?
Yeah, well, I wasn't directly involved in the purchase of the flags. It is for all the flags throughout the municipality. And what we're finding, that actually the flag companies have indicated that really you're supposed to switch those out every 4 months. That's how I was astonished at how little they lasted. But I think they're working off of kind of a 6-month schedule. We do, one of the first 6 complaints we get is those are looking rough, right? Because they do get beat down by the sun and the weather pretty quickly. But that is for all the flags.
So there's three in front of the municipal office here in Park Hill. How many is there in Elsa Craig, and where else are the flags?
Yeah, Dorian, I can't speak to the specific number of flags, but I can get back to you on that information.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, Jonathan, you had something? Then the deputy mayor. You're muted, John.
Through your worship, I can confirm that 11 flags were purchased in this invoice.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Deputy Mayor Cornelison, you had a question?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Rob. I believe this question is probably directed towards Mike again. I'm just asking about all the plumbing work that was done by Adam Smith. Was that done in the arena to upgrade some of the dressing rooms? You're muted.
Yeah, I just fixed it. Indirectly, yes. So what's going on is some of that was some work through some vandalism, some smashed toilets, but we are going back to a boiler system. The on-demand system that was in play at the arena was not working properly, and every time we needed to fix it, it was $2,000. So we're going to a standard boiler. It's a high efficiency. They work much better. So yes, that's what they're working on right now. So it will solve the problems ultimately, we're hoping, with the cold showers in the arena.
Well, I'm glad to hear that was done because there was some complaints about some of the rooms. Thank you.
Okay. Other questions on the accounts? No other questions? We have need a move. Councillor McClinchy, Councillor Keogh, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Committee reports. Is there any committees who have a report? Deputy Mayor Cornelison.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. I'd just like to make an announcement to those of you who've had some interaction with the Asaba Bayfield Conservation Authority, that today we received an email that Judith Parker is retiring in September. So, and I know, Mayor Rob, you had an opportunity to work with her, and she's just a fantastic woman, and that we wish you well.
Yeah, very good. Any questions for Adrian? Any other committees that have to report? Councillor Keogh? Remember, we can read lips.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Adrian, I just have one question. Has Asaba Bayfield received any inquiry as to gypsy moth infestation throughout North Middlesex? I have just recently had an inquiry last week, in fact, and I didn't know if Asaba Bayfield has have this on the radar, or if it's just an isolated area.
I haven't heard a great deal from Asaba Bayfield, but we did hear quite a report from the county forester back in, believe it was beginning of July, Mayor Rob, possibly.
Yeah.
And he shared quite a detailed report of the cyclical nature of the gypsy moth, and that this is the worst year that they anticipate that they'll be here, and that it should decrease over the next couple of years.
Okay. Would there be some information on the website that we could pull from, perhaps?
I think the county website should have something there, yeah. Now, I do have a meeting coming up with the Asaba Bayfield, and I can specifically ask for more information from them if they have anything.
Thank you.
Could they forward something to us on that? Ask them to forward something to us. Adrian.
I will do that.
Okay.
I will do that.
Thank you. Any other questions for Adrian or other committees? Hearing none. All right, we'll go to correspondence. The Ontario Barn Preservation, consideration of proposed policy changes during review of OP and zoning bylaws. Action. Receive and file. Chatham-Kent request for support of private members bill to designate August 1st as Emancipation Day in Canada. Action. Receive and file. Watson and Associates comments on Bill 197, COVID-19 Economic Recovery Act, changes to the DC and the CBC charges. Receive and file. Ministry of the Solicitor General, proclamation of the Reopening Ontario Act 2020, overview of continued enforcement of orders due to COVID-19. Receive and file. Ontario Energy Board, notice of gas rates effective January 1st, 2021. I know what our reaction is, but they're just receive and file. Town of Gore Bay, request for support of motion of the Federation of Northern Ontario Municipalities, OPP Detachment Boards. Receive and file. Okay. Other and urgent business. We got a verbal update on bylaws to appoint building inspectors from Adelaide Metcalf. Jonathan Graham.
Through your worship, the two bylaws that are presented before you out of the three, number 54, number 56, are the appointment bylaws for the inspectors under the shared service model that we have Adelaide, Metcalf, and Southwest. So these are Adelaide, Metcalf, or the employees. They need to be appointed to be able to do their activities here. Shannon, unless you have anything to add, we kind of briefly talked about them previously. So for this is for Sandy Lane and for Josh Ronson, I believe. So anyways, they're for your consideration.
Any questions from council on this? No questions? We need to have someone move this?
Not yet. They
No,
were just
this
for
is gonna be on
consideration.
bylaws.
Yeah.
On bylaws?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, perfect. Motion to appoint member of council to the joint building committee for a 2-year period. Jackie.
So just further to getting some of the groundwork ready for the new committees, we have not formally passed a motion to appoint Mayor Ropp as representative on behalf of North Middlesex to this committee. And according to the agreement, there also should be an alternate member of council that should be appointed to step in the absence of the primary member. So we would be looking for interest and then the mayor's appointment of a council member.
So can I just ask, is there someone, is there a member of council who's interested in being on that? If not, I would ask the deputy mayor to stand as the alternate, I would think.
Mayor Ropp, I'd be pleased to do so. If I was thinking of Councillor Moyer, given his building experience. However, if he's too busy, then I'd be more than pleased to accept it.
Okay, we need a motion, someone.
Oh.
Councillor McClinchy. Seconder? Go ahead.
I'm just not sure who she was. Was she appointing Councillor Cornelison? Is that what the motion is?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, well, I was just going by to have the mayor, but then it doesn't say in there about in the case you're not there, the council can.
Are you including the deputy mayor as the alternate then in that motion?
Yes, yes.
Okay, Jackie?
Yep. So I just
Okay.
need a seconder for it.
A seconder. I did see a hand up. Councillor Moyer. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Do we have anything else on other business? No? No one's got other business? All right. Deferred items are there in front of you. Communication County Council, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Ropp. Mayor Ropp and myself had the opportunity to attend the county council meeting, a brief one, last Tuesday. It was very rewarding and I think refreshing to have the opportunity to speak with senior staff one-on-one. I know I feel, and I think Mayor Ropp would agree with me, that you seem to get, it's more productive to have those chats one-on-one as opposed to over the internet. And I felt we had quite a bit accomplished. Mayor Ropp, I don't know if you have anything you wish to add.
Well, just the meeting was about having Zoom meetings in the future as an alternative. So for committee meetings, and that would include committee meetings as well. Not to be exclusive as that, but to have them as an alternative. And I think maybe there are some times to have that, but that's was passed by county. So the actual motion, I think we can get off the county website, but that's what was the reason for having the meeting, was to council's wish on making that an alternative going forward. Any questions on the county, anyone? Councillor Moyer.
Just wondering, has there been any updates on the bridge on West Corners Drive at all?
Okay, Jonathan, you want to answer that first? Go ahead.
Through your worship, and I'll toss it over to either the representatives at the county council, but staff did receive today confirmation that the EAs will be proceeding. They will be sending out a survey for public consideration, and we have reviewed that, and that will be going out, I would think, in the next couple of weeks. Dylan has been assigned the project for the environmental assessment, and in standard practice, it's do nothing, do something in between, or full rehabilitation. So we'll be seeing more information come through, and we did talk to the county engineer about this. He'll be giving us information as this project progresses on in the next couple of months.
Yeah, but it's going to go to public survey, and people will have their chance, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Lots of interest in it right now.
Yeah, yeah, there is. And I will say that talking with Chris, and I think the deputy mayor was there as well, and he's at least has an open mind about it, you know. He wants to hear what people have to say, but he is looking at anywhere from closing it to a full rebuild, but in between pedestrian or just for car traffic where they would actually have a height restriction on it, just different levels of opening. So yeah, so that should be coming fairly soon, I think. Now we'll try to find that out when they're going to bring that forward, unless he gave you that information, Jonathan, did he?
No, through your worship, I would imagine it would take at least a month and a half to finalize the survey data, to have that buy-in, and then it would be presented back to county council. So we'll get a copy of that report for filing purposes, and make sure that we're involved in the process as we go through.
I was going to say, we want to make sure that we get that survey out to everybody. I mean, it's our residents who are affected by it. So
yeah. So we'll have it available online. I'll have to figure out exactly how they're doing it. I would imagine that they're doing some sort of mail blitz as well to the immediate people who are there, but then that's really far when you go, like how many people use that bridge? It goes very west on West Corners Drive to being able to serve people there. That'll be the thing that will be on our social media to make sure people are aware of that.
okay. Follow up, Deputy Mayor Ellison.
It's not a follow-up to the bridge, Mayor Rob, but it is under communications. And my question is for Mike, I believe, on the community safety and well-being survey by the initiated by the county. How can our residents access that survey?
So we are, it is going out on our social media 2 to 3 times a week, both on Facebook and Twitter, and it provides a direct link. I can put another page on our website, and I thought about that, but it does get lost in our website that already has a little too much information. But it is being communicated as they asked with their messaging 2 to 3 times a week for 7 weeks, actually. So,
and they can also access it on the county website, correct?
Yes, that's where the link on our social media goes to. So,
okay, all right, thank you.
Mike, how long does it take to do that survey?
I haven't done the survey myself, actually, to tell you the truth, Brian. Funny enough, you asked that, but
it's fairly long, right?
Yeah.
John, Jonathan Graham, do you have any more? You've been working on that side of things. So
it's fairly extensive, but the undertaking that they're trying to do requires it to be extensive. And the way that it's been formatted, there's a lot of service areas that they have to identify. So it is on the long side. And I think that's why they're asking us to constantly promote it. It's to make sure that it's out there, people are aware of it. I know it's through, I believe it's through SurveyMonkey. A lot of people get thrown off that, once they get into 7 or 8 questions and they're done. If you do it correctly and you save it correctly, it actually will hold and retain that information. And I think that was one of the pieces through the deputy mayor that was highlighted through the last discussion, is making sure that that information could stay there if somebody wanted to circle back. But I can't confirm if that actually was able to be done or not, but that was the intention.
Okay.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, if I may, Mayor Rob, is that I also completed our own Parks and Recreation survey, and I think the community safety well-being is a little shorter than that one.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
it does depend on how many facilities you use and how long that Parks and Rec will be. But
yeah. Yes. Okay. Any other questions on communication? None. So no closed meeting. Reading of the bylaws.
Bylaw 54 and 56 are the two appointment of the building inspector appointment bylaws, and bylaw 55 is your confirming bylaw. So we're looking for first and second reading of all bylaws.
Counselor McClinchy and Counselor Moyer, all in favor?
And third and final on all three.
Counselor Keough, Counselor Nickel. That was your hand, not the dog's, right? Okay, just checking. All in favor? Carried. So that's it for business. So just before we adjourn, I heard a rumor that there was kids coming out. No? Jonathan Lampman left us, didn't he?
Yes. Actually, his kids are with his in-laws, so he's living the
Oh,
bachelor
well, so we
life right
can't
now.
see the girls. I thought we were gonna get an update on the twins. That's, all right. So we just need to move to adjourn. Counselor McClinchy, oh, you were slow that time, Doreen. And Counselor Keough, all in favor? Carried. Have a good evening, everyone.
Goodbye.